Dave made this beat.
Welcome to Say Like a Champ, episode 290. It's your boy A-Dub.
Hey, boys, Triz, welcome back, SLAC family. What's good, y'all?
What it do? Another week in sports, another chance to talk sports with your boys. And full disclosure, as always, this is a pre-recorded segment. We got some things going on later today on both ends, so we're going to knock this thing out. But we like to start, as always, encouraging you all to participate in the show, drop comments. You might even see us popping up in the comment section as well to drop along with you guys. So we definitely appreciate the support, the likes, the subscribes, all that stuff. Share with your friends that like sports and invite them to be a part of our Tuesday tradition, every single week. So with that being said, before we get into it really quickly, let's do our check-ins. Trizzy, how you feeling today? What's good?
Man, I feel good. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like this week's going to be a good week. You know what I'm saying? We got some more signings. You know what I'm saying? We got baseball starting up again, which crazy enough is actually become my favorite sports betting organization. You know what I'm saying? For some reason, baseball has been my biggest moneymaker the last probably 2 years, 2.5 years or so. So I'm glad baseball's starting up again. And I took tomorrow and Friday off. And I also got my, the little anime con this upcoming Saturday. So a lot going on, you know what I mean? But it's all good stuff. So, looking forward to the remainder of this week, man. How about you?
Man, I'm doing good. Everything is cool, and I'm feeling like it's going to be a good week as well. We just celebrated kind of a little bit this weekend, Luna's 6 months, so that was really cool.
Adorable,
definitely got to shout out our brother Marcus. He does a great job with the photography, so he hooked us up with some pictures for Luna to kind of celebrate the time. So that was really cool. Yeah, just lots of cool things to look forward to. I was going to ask you, though, are you going to take your daughter to the anime con? You guys buddying up again, or are you going solo this time?
No, I'm going solo this time. My boy Kings is going to come along, too. But mainly just because, I want to get, some actual, footage. I might do some, interviews and things of that nature with some of the, the audience is going to be there and stuff like that. So I think I'm going a little bit more this time as more of a creator than, kind of daddy-daughter date. So, probably, obviously, she's going to do some stuff about that for her, but definitely going solo this time around for sure.
Cool. Well, make sure we'll be tuned in. I'll be waiting and watching, but make sure you on that Straw Hat Strizzy YouTube channel so we can see some content from the Arizona Anime Con, which honestly, over the past, it's been around for a while, but I'd say over the past 10 years, it's just boom, it's exploded. The way it is now.
It's gotten so big. That used to be one of the smaller ones. You go and there'll probably be a couple of vendors, things of that nature. They probably could have had it outside a couple of times, at the early stages, but it's gotten way bigger now. The amount of vendors that are there. I think if you're an anime fan, all of the biggest voice actors in the game are going to be there, and I mean all of them. So it's crazy, you know what I'm saying? So I'm super excited to get there, probably get some autographs, get some pop sign, things of that nature. But it should be a good one. And then, Sableton is another con. I think that's later on in the year, August area. That'll be the one me and Baby Girl go to. So, yeah, man, I'm excited. It's like you said, it's the biggest that it's probably been in the last 10 years. So I'm excited for it. It should be dope.
Yeah, most definitely. It's still not on the level of San Diego Comic-Con. Obviously, that's a whole nother thing. It's in a league of its own. And honestly, that's almost too big to go to anymore. That's a whole different animal to tackle. It's not even – I'm not to say that it's not enjoyable, but it's you can't even digest everything. You can't even really go and experience what's going on because it's just too much and too many people.
Monsters. It's like trying to see Disneyland in a day.
Exactly.
You can't do it. You got to buy the 3-day ticket. You got to go for all 3 days.
Exactly. You got to have the, you got to have the multi-park pass and everything,
Exactly.
But no, that's what's up, man. That's pretty cool. Actually, I'm looking to maybe take Grace to. There's like a horror con this year in and it's actually by the Cardinal Stadium. It's at the hotel over there, so we might go check that out. I'm kind of excited to see that.
Well, that's pretty dope, man. Let me know. I might tag along and show up or something like that. That's pretty dope.
It's kind of like up and coming still, but this year they're in the Renaissance, so it's gonna be a little bit bigger. So yeah, we'll see about that. But it's always fun to have a convention where you can move around and enjoy and see some cool stuff. So
they always have so much cool stuff to see and purchase and stuff like that. So you know what I'm saying? Panels and people going to speak. You might get to see some new movies coming out, so that
right.
Brought up there. So yeah, it's always dope. It's always fun.
For sure. All right, cool. With that check-in done, let's go ahead and launch into our topics for today. And I guess we could start by saying happy opening day of baseball. Even though this isn't the official opening day, we do have regular season baseball that was played today. The Cubs and the Dodgers starting off in Japan. The Dodgers winning 4-1 in that Tokyo series. They have played one more game today and or tomorrow technically. So today it started at 3 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. So I assume that not a lot of people watched it, but I do think it's cool how they're growing the sport. And it was interesting. It was kind of notable that Ohtani, he did his thing after being injured in the World Series. He came back. He's looking really strong. But he said he was a little bit nervous to play in Japan and got a little bit emotional during the Japanese national anthem. I think that's really cool, though. And I do think that the way that the sport has grown internationally, like, it's even bigger over places. Like, it's called America's pastime, but it's kind of like more closer to soccer in the fact that like other places, like that's a bigger sport than here.
They should really, obviously Ohtani face of baseball right now, really, right? Like I'm trying to think, who else is kind of that figure, and maybe if he hadn't been injured so often, Mike Trout, comes to mind too. But just the injuries he's been away for a little bit. But you think about all the places that are huge in baseball. We're talking about Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, Colombia, those places. Like it'd be dope to see them play some games there too. We see them playing like Mexico City. It's in every once in a while too, a couple of games. But take it. So many of the biggest names in baseball over the last 10, 15 years have come out of those places. So it'd be kind of dope to see the MLB head over there as well.
Yeah, that would be tight for sure. And even like in other places, they play really high level ball. In fact, the Cubs and the Dodgers, they both played some exhibition games against the Japanese clubs, and they both lost. They both got blanked. They were held scoreless. So the world, as we saw in the World Baseball Classic too, the world is definitely catching up to the USA for sure. So that's good stuff. But the real official launch of the MLB, I believe, is the 25th. I gotta double check that, but I think Thursday the 27th. So we're about a week away from the official opening day of baseball, and that'll be a fun day as always. I'll be working, but I'll have my TV on all day in the background. Distracted.
Literally all
day. And I do love that they kind of stagger the game so that the first opening pitches are like early on. So we'll be checking that out. But that's exciting stuff. As we pivot away from that, though, we do have some NFL free agency signings that we wanted to talk about, and a few notable ones and a few that are still waiting to drop. And I think the biggest free agent's name, who I don't think might be the most impactful, but the most famous, Aaron Rodgers, still out there. There were some pictures of him on a beach somewhere, and he's talking about he's going to take his time to make the decision because his first time as being a free agent, but it's essentially the Steelers waiting on him to decide if he wants to play for the Steelers or not. I don't really know, or I haven't heard of any other landing places connected to his name. What do you think about the situation, Aaron Rodgers to the Steelers, and why it's dragging out?
Because he's Aaron Rodgers. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, just 2 years ago, it was basically whether or not he's going to retire, and went to his black room and all that kind of fun stuff. And like, I don't know, man. He's just every year he just gets more and more annoying. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can't stand Aaron Rodgers.
And less good. Like,
yeah, exactly. Like, the ends don't justify the means type stuff. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, man, the Steelers, man, they've always kind of been, especially under Tomlin, even before Tomlin, they've always kind of been a no nonsense team, right? So if I'm them, I'm looking at this, it's just like, oh, it's already starting. Like, we're barely into like preseason mode, right? Like, is this really the dude that we want on our team? You know what I'm saying? Like when you look back at the Jets, right? Like how he had weapons there. You know what I'm saying? Like in good ones too. So it's like they didn't pan out. They weren't even in contention for their the division, let alone the playoffs. You know what I'm saying? So I
Yeah.
don't know. I don't. I for me personally, like if I'm a team looking to possibly bring Aaron Rodgers on, I'm probably one of the weaker teams in the league, and I'm doing it for publicity. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's
Jersey sales.
jersey stuff exactly. Get some more people in the stands. Give the fans some false hope. You know what I'm saying? Because the Steelers will win games, but it's going to be because of Tomlin and the way he runs that organization, not necessarily because Aaron Rodgers is going to come in and start you know throwing 300 plus yards a game, 3 touchdowns a game type deal. So I don't know, man. It just lately with him, it just kind of seemed like a circus, and I don't know. He ain't winning no favors with me, not as of late, that's for sure.
Yeah, I agree. I felt like when the Jets finally released him, it would be kind of over with. And we see how the Jets' strategy panned out. They basically wasted 2 years of their franchise with this big move of, oh, we're going to get him, and this is going to be the difference maker. So I'm like, the Steelers, like, did you not see that? Did you not learn? And he's 2 years older.
Exactly.
So interesting there, but we'll see where he lands. But I assume that's basically going to be where he lands. It's just going to be drug out like it is being now. So there won't be much surprise there. A couple of guys returning, Juju Smith-Schuster going back to the Chiefs, which I mentioned that just because I know Anthony Wesson, big Chiefs fan on this show, mentioned that he would like to have him back. So I think that's pretty solid. That gives him some kind of continuity from one year to the next.
Yeah.
The other guy going back, another Slacker fan will be very excited about, Juszczyk going back to the 49ers after he was released on a more team-friendly deal. I think that goes to show you, like, when you become indoctrinated and in with the fans and in with the organization, and him and how his wife and their family has been such a big thing. I feel like that was kind of cool to see. There's still some wholesome kind of stories.
Yeah.
So
A little loyalty still left.
Yeah, as rare as it may be, you know what I'm saying? A little loyalty every once in a while. Cooper Kupp has a landing spot now, going to the Seahawks on a 3-year deal, which is not too bad. I can't remember exactly how much money he's going to be making, but they obviously lost their boy DK. They lost Lockett, so that gives them something to go forward with our boy Sam Bradford now. What do you think about Cooper Kupp to the Seahawks and his production?
I really like it. And the reason being is he's not a rookie. This will be his 3rd year. But I think he had a phenomenal sophomore season. And it was Jackson. I forget how to pronounce his whole last name, right? But
Njigma Smith.
Yeah, exactly. But he had a phenomenal year last year. You could arguably say he was the number 1 receiver last year. He had a better year than DK did, right? And I know DK missed some games and things of that nature, but still, like, he had a very good number 1 year. But I wouldn't give him number 1 receiver status yet. But adding in a guy like Cooper Kupp is only going to give him room to grow, and it also it really does help Sam Bradford into coming in, and I said Sam Bradford, Sam Darnold, Sam Darnold. Sam, we talked about coming into a not much better organization. The Vikings are a good organization, but we finally seen him excel over the last couple of seasons in better teams and better coaching staffs, things of that nature. And it was like, dang, you're going to Seattle, but they got rid of all their receivers. Like, what are you going to do? So to see them kind of revamp that receiving room, I think it's going to really help them and help him. So I think it's solid. I guess he's signed on his own. He wasn't traded, but I'll never really understand letting these players go to teams within the division, because we get to play the Rams twice a year, and we coming for him. So
Right.
I love Cooper Kupp. I think he's the epitome of a professional, someone who watches the wide receiver position at a high level. I think he's arguably one of the greatest in the league for a while. And as long as he stays healthy, I think it's a great pickup for them.
Yeah. One of the recently having the Triple Crown. I know Jamar did it this year, which it's still very rare though to see a receiver get the Triple Crown as far as receptions, yards, and touchdowns. But he did that in a very strong wide receiver field, just a couple of years ago. So Obviously, he's had the injuries, but I do think if he can stay healthy, that'll be good. And like you said, for Jackson Smith and Jigba, having that, like you said, he had a great year, but those other guys were out there at least as threats and to take away some of the attention from him. Exactly. If he would have just been by himself, could he do that? Could he replicate that success? Now he doesn't have to. He's got that balance. So I think it'll be pretty cool. Other one, Cowboys, I got to mention Miles Sanders coming in, as well as Javonte Williams at the running back position. I do think that this means for their draft strategy, they're not going to go high for a running back, which I'm kind of disappointed in, but I kind of understand as well. I feel like what they got out of I'm already forgetting his name now. What they got out of Dottle, last year, I think that shows them like, okay, if we get our line going in the right direction, we can. Yeah, exactly. So the Panthers kind of just swap them out. Yeah. But I also think, Jerry and the Cowboys have this tendency of like Miles Sanders had that great year with the Eagles like 3 years ago or 4 years ago, and he tore up the Cowboys a couple of times. I feel like they always have these like, okay, we saw that guy in person. We saw him get us, even when they, even with the whole Mike McCarthy, like, okay, the Packers beat us. Like they won a Super Bowl in our building. Like when they see things up close, they're like, okay, that's good for them. So I feel like they're hoping he can replicate some of that success he had a few years ago. He hasn't had a lot of wear on the tires since then. So maybe, but I gotta be honest, I'm not like super excited, but I think he will be solid.
Yeah, I think both of the running backs are both solid, but both of them have been kind of injury prone too, especially these last 2 seasons. So I'm curious to kind of see what they do, especially if y'all don't bolster your offensive line a little bit more. And that means that you went from one of the strongest offensive lines in the last 10 years to, not so strong. It's not a weak line, but it's definitely not as strong as we're used to seeing it.
Right.
And I'm kind of curious to kind of see too, like it's crazy to talk about the Panthers having one of the strongest offensive lines in the league because that's been like our Achilles heel over the last almost the entirety of my fanhood, but a lot of years. Like all of Cam's years, to see what Cam was able to do with never having a good line is crazy. But they did a lot of work into the offensive line the last year's offseason, and it showed in the last year of protection and our running game. So I'm curious to see. We have 3 running backs on our squad right now that probably all should get some play. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, I was interested. It was interesting to see Dottle go there because I'm like, man, you still got the youngster Brooks.
Yeah, exactly.
And then Chuba just like took over last year. Like he didn't need no relief. Yeah. So it's gonna be interesting to see how that does play out. But maybe they'll do a little bit more of a mixture. We'll see.
Yeah, keep those guys healthy. Because I know Chuba got banged up towards the end. Brooks got hurt again, which is kind of a little offsetting. So I think that's probably why they picked up Dottle. Just to see, if Brooks can't stay healthy, we need another guy that we can count on. And I think Dottle will do well, especially like I said, we'll be able to get offensive line. We're bringing all of our guys back again, so that's positive. I think maybe one guy. I think we lost one guy on the line, but aside from that, everyone else is coming back. So that's a big deal. You know what I mean? Bryce got his confidence and swagger back, so I'm hoping to kind of build through that next season. So we'll see. Although I was hoping to get at least T Higgins or bring in Cooper Kupp, you know what I'm saying, to get another kind of big, solid, actual number 1 receiver to us, but we didn't get him. So we'll see what happens, what we do in the draft.
For sure. Some little other Cowboys news. They signed Paris Campbell, which I don't think that's going to really move the needle at all. But again, I think that's going to prevent us from drafting a wide receiver kind of in those first couple rounds. So I'm interested to see. Hopefully they just go D-line, offensive line early on and get some difference makers there. But we'll see how it plays out. Interesting too. So though the other thing was kind of like a little scandal, and I might want to save this too because I want to get Slacker's comments on this and I want to get Marcus's comments on this too. But to Marcus Lawrence leaving the Cowboys for Seattle. He was a franchise guy, an anchor type of guy, a guy that they paid a lot of money to, and they did right by in re-signing him in different times of his career, giving him the big money, making him very high paid. But in his first comments as a Seahawk, talked about, Dallas is home and everything, but the reality is I'm not going to win a Super Bowl there. And you kind of ruffle some feathers to our boy Parsons kind of said that was clown type stuff. Which I kind of agreed to. It's kind of like a salty thing to do, especially after you left. Like you made the decision you made, But I was curious what you thought about DeMarcus Lawrence saying that about the Cowboys, and is that just like sour grapes after the fact?
That's definitely sour grapes. It's definitely sour grapes. Like I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, and I'm not trying to do a canoodle with your boys. Like, he's probably right. But are you gonna do it in Seattle?
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
No. Like, come on.
Right.
Man. You know what I mean? So it's like, the comments. It's like, at least go to a team that's actually legit in
On
title.
the brink.
If he would have moved from like Dallas to like the Eagles, makes a little bit more sense, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, you're already in contention for a repeat championship, but to go from Dallas to Seattle, that's a lateral move to me. You know what I'm saying? It's definitely a lateral move to me. And you don't even know what you're going to get next year with Sam Darnold being the quarterback. He could be as good as he was in Minnesota. He could have a complete drop off. Who knows? You know what I'm saying? So I think it is kind of sour grapes to me. And piggybacking off that too, we saw Najee Harris kind of saying not the same thing, but took a shot at Pittsburgh with the Chargers, basically saying that their facilities and things were way better than some other places he had been. And it's like, dog, you've only been on one other team in the league, so who you talking
Right.
about?
So, so what are you really saying? Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just like, I get it. When you go to a place that you love and there's a breakup, maybe you're a little salty, but talk when the wounds have healed. You know what I'm saying? Like, because at a certain point, you just sound dumb. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you just, like you said, you sound like a clown. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I don't agree with what Lawrence said. I just feel like he should have just not said anything at all, because it's like, you ain't winning one with Seattle either, big dog. So
right,
it's what it is.
So calm that down. Exactly.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So I think that was most of our NFL updates. I don't really have anything else on the list too crazy. Obviously, we're still leading up to the draft, which will change a lot of things. But I think free agency, now that it's kind of settled down, we have a better handle on the team needs. And so I'm interested to see some mock drafts coming up now to see, kind of who some people might be targeting. We're about a month away from the draft, so we'll see. And most all of the big, the big type of moving free agents have landed by now.
For sure.
Another big thing coming up this week, starting on Thursday, is the NCAA Tournament. So I definitely wanted to take a chance to plug our Yahoo Pick'em again. We do have the brackets out there. I know, Strizzy, you've promoted a little bit, and we're going to leave it in the description of this video too. So you can click on that link. The password is SLAC. Join us, and we will be I can't remember who won last year, though, honestly, and I hate to say that because we usually track it very well. What's that?
I can't remember if it was it wasn't Anthony. It was it Franklin? Was it I can't remember.
I don't know. I know my boy Springfield won, but I'm almost thinking that was 2 years ago now because time just flies like that. So we will look up and see who won last year. But needless to say, we want to have another fun competition. And especially, though, even if college basketball isn't your sport, because I know a lot of us don't watch it day to day, week to week, but the tournament time is the fun time. Yeah. And the brackets get busted anyway. So just throw it out there, pick some teams, see what happens. You don't really have to have any prior knowledge because it won't make a difference anyways. Really. It's always going to be
seeded. It's seeded for a reason. You know what I'm saying? Go based off teams you think are going to be, be in there, and who you think's going to be upset. Because there's going to be some upsets.
Exactly. So on the basketball front, definitely check that out. And then I'm a little bit sad because I'm not as excited for the women's tournament as I was last year because of Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese. Got to give them both credit because I felt like the last year the women's tournament was more competitive and more fun to watch than the men's. But you never really know until it starts. So I'm gonna keep my eyes open for the women's as well and just kind of watch that. But I'm still rooting for South Carolina. Like, I like what they've done. So Coach Staley, like, that's really dope. So we'll see how they do, but I'm going to be interesting to see as it goes by the first week or so of the tournament, like what teams kind of emerge on the women's bracket. So we'll definitely be watching that as well too. And I got to give a shout out really quickly on the men's side. My Georgia Bulldogs actually made the tournament for the first time in I don't know, it's been at least 8 or 9 years. I think they made it 1 year back in 2014 or 15. And then
they?
What's that?
They made an Anthony Edwards year, didn't they?
No, they didn't.
They didn't? Dang, I thought they made that year.
No, they were like a bubble team and they didn't make it in his year. So he never even got to shine out in the NCAA tournament. So it's been a while since they made it. So the only thing that sucks is they're playing Gonzaga, which is a tough matchup. Gonzaga's not the Gonzaga they normally are, but they're always good and they're always good in tournament time. So that's going to be a little bit of rivalry between Stephanie Washington and I. So we'll have to be checking that out. But I'll definitely be watching that on Thursday. Just it's cool to see Georgia make it back in.
For sure.
And then I was gonna transfer over to NBA news a little bit. I have nothing too crazy, but we do have about 8 games left, maybe in the regular season. We are approaching playoffs, so it's getting down to some exciting times. We'll be getting to see the play-in pretty soon. But I wanted to ask you about. As a Heat fan and as a former Jimmy Butler fan, also being close and seeing the fallout there, how do you feel about the success he's had at the Warriors? And they're kind of rise up the Western Conference standings since that trade.
Yeah, I mean, honeymoon phase, right? I mean, like, don't get me wrong, like we kind of knew this was going to happen. The Warriors needed somebody to kind of take some of the pressure off Steph, because we've seen Steph was averaging like 21 points a game on like horrible shooting numbers, you know what I'm saying? And now I think he's like averaging like 28 since the Jimmy trade. And it's gonna take some time for teams to kind of get used to the new style of play. 2 different players. They never had a player like Jimmy ever before either. But for me personally, like, one, they're too small. Like, they're gonna, I remember how Miami was during the bubble, and we were like really good. We were going through everybody and beat the Southern Eastern Conference Championship, and I was like, we're gonna get blown out by the Lakers because we're just too small. And honestly, like, the Warriors are kind of the same way right now. I think if they play anybody big, they're gonna get beat down. They got beat down by the Nuggets last night, and they're missing 3 of their best players. You know what I'm saying? So, and again, they were just bigger. You know what I mean? They're still a bigger team. So they're gonna do well. But they have gone higher up in the standings, but they need to stay high. Because if they get into the lower factions or find themselves back into the play-in, they do not want to play teams. They don't want to play the Lakers. They don't want to play. They don't want to play the Thunder. They don't want to play the Nuggets either. They don't want to play any of those teams. I know they don't. They're gonna want to play primarily because Gobert's an offensive type player, but they're gonna want to play the Timberwolves. They're gonna want to play. I'm trying to even think who's even there at the bottom. The Rockets, exactly. They're going to want to play teams like them. And the Thunder, a couple of years ago, I'd say they were too young, but that's not the case anymore, man. That game between the Thunder and the Celtics game that was played, I think last week or something like that. That series goes to 7, dog. Like, I don't want to see the Celtics in the finals at all. But if it is, like, that's going to be a good series. But I think they're going to be fine. Until Jimmy starts tripping again, and he will. I promise you, he will. It's only a matter of time, because every team he's been on now, he said he wants to retire with that team, and then 2 years later, when things don't go his way, we start seeing this stuff again. So it's the honeymoon phase. Everything's great. Everybody's happy. Everything's gelling. They're winning again. But when they're not, that's when things will kind of start to tell. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I agree. I kind of feel the same way. Like, it has been pretty cool, and it's been, I'm sure, bolstered him, and the success that they had early kind of probably led to more success, right? Because they're happy and they're in a good position. I do agree. I think maybe even if the Warriors are smart, they use them the way they needed to for this year, see how far they can get in the playoffs, and then go a different direction in the offseason and figure out what the real long-term situation is going to be, because I don't think that's it. But yeah, no, and everybody is on that team.
Yeah, exactly.
So, we'll see. I do think that Celtics Thunder, I hate to say it like that too, but it's probably the finals preview, probably what we're going to see. And I know the Cavs have had a remarkable regular season, and they've had a great record. They started hot, they stayed good. But I don't see them as an ultimate threat in the playoffs when things slow down.
This team reminds me of the way the Raptors were a couple of years ago, where they were really good, could probably beat anybody in the East except LeBron James. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's how they remind me of. Like, they're the Raptors, and you know what I'm saying, the Celtics are, you know, LeBron's Cavs or LeBron's Miami team. They're not going to be able to get past them.
Yeah, I like that.
That's for sure.
Yeah, no, I like that. I think that's a good comparison. The one I had was they're kind of like those Mike D'Antoni Suns with Steve Nash and Amari Stoudemire, where it's like they're going to run and gun, they're going to fire off. In the regular season, they're going to beat a lot of teams. They're going to outrun a lot of teams, make them tired out. But in the playoffs, when it slows down, it's like not enough. So we'll see. But I do got to give my Lakers another shout out. No, I know they faltered on their little East Coast swing, but still watching them play with Luka and especially with LeBron out, Rui out, you know, it's just so cool to have a player like Luka on the team where not that LeBron can't carry, but at his age, he can't carry the same way. Like when he's out and he doesn't need to worry about it, like Luka, even with the reserves, is like competitive, like the same way he was with Dallas last year. Like he's like, okay, I'm gonna make this work. Like I'm gonna draw double teams. I'm gonna get the right guy in the spot. And even though it's never good to be injured, I almost feel like this LeBron injury was a blessing in disguise because it's let Luka like establish himself, dominate, and it's letting the reserves get some confidence, like get some points, get their buckets, get their minutes. So I think when it comes back together,
I completely agree with everything you said. Not to mention too, even the 4-game skid that you guys had, like you got to remember, like he's still getting used to this team in general. You know what I'm saying? Like these are different guys. These aren't the guys that he's played with in Dallas his entire career. So, like you said, it's kind of a blessing in disguise for LeBron to get some rest before playoff time comes, and you have a guy like you said, like Luka, who can come in here and can dominate and get used to these guys, where these guys like their spots, where Luka likes his, when it's time to get out Luka's way, and when it's time to cut to the basket because you know he's looking to pass. Like all of those things, like him getting used to the Lakers and the Lakers getting used to him, I think is super important. And like you said, like this is probably the first time since playing with Wade where he's had a guy where he can miss a game and knows that the other person, as long as they're healthy, like it's cool. I'm gonna go watch Bryce's national championship game. Well, shout out to Bryce. That shit, you know what I'm saying? So but you know, so he could go and do that and not worry about, you know, the team and things of that nature. Because you know, when AD is healthy, he's so good. But even when he's healthy, he don't really do that. You know what I'm saying? Like he's bound to have big games. You know he's gonna have big games. AD is a monster. But I look at AD to have a good game because he's AD. But I look at Luka to have a good game because he's gonna go in there and lead his team to victory. Right? Like I just feel. I know Bron probably feels a lot different too with Luka in the game than he did with like AD. So. Yeah, I mean, I think that's big. As long as the Lakers are healthy, man, like I think they can give the Thunder a run for the money because at the end of the day, LeBron's still LeBron, and Luka was just in the Western Conference Finals last year. You know
in the NBA Finals.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're right. My fault. Yeah, NBA Finals. So yeah, man, like I don't know, I'm feeling it. I'm low key rooting for y'all because obviously Miami's not gonna get there. So I'm low key rooting for y'all, and if it's not y'all, the Thunder, like those are the two teams I'm actually hoping to win a championship this year because I've always 10 toes down rooting for Luka. He's been one of my favorite players since he came into the league. You know, all players have their weaknesses, things of that nature. He may complain too much, but when it comes down to getting buckets and leading his team to victory, like he's one of the best. You know what I'm saying? Probably top 3 player in the league right now. So, yeah, man, I'm looking forward to your boys continuing to move forward because they've been fun to watch, man. And AR-15's been a monster too.
Yeah,
28 points a game in games that LeBron has missed is crazy. So. Like those 3 got to figure out how they can work together and get things moving. But it's just crazy because all of them are great passers, all of them are good rebounders, and all of them can put the ball in the bucket. So if they're healthy, Lakers definitely got a chance.
Yeah, for sure. I think so too. And I agree with you as far as like when Luka was coming in, we've talked about it. Like he was young, he was playing against guys, at the pro level for a long time. So, so it's like, he's one that we've always watched. So like, still mind blowing that he landed on the Lakers, but can't be happier as a fan. I'm like, oh my gosh. And on the other end, speaking of AD, to give him some credit, he is trying to get back. He tested he wants to play this year, even though the Mavericks are, holding on to that last play-in spot. But he's actually was assigned to the G League to go down and get some scrimmage. So hopefully he can get some work in there and can get healthy and get back. But yeah, it's like we talked about it at first, like, well, maybe the Mavericks won the trade in the short term, but the Lakers won it in long term. Like now it's looking more and more like Lakers won it all now.
Yeah, long term, short term, it don't matter.
All term, yeah.
Lakers and foe. Like, it's crazy, dog.
Yeah. So, oh man. All right, cool. So
they're gonna look at this. They're gonna look at this after this year, next year, just be like, what did we do?
Right.
Like, what did we do? Like we gave away Luka Doncic because what? Like there's no real reason. I don't care what they say.
There's got to be something we don't know more. Like
it has to be, man. Because unless he straight up told them, "I am not coming back here," which I don't think he did. I just don't. You know,
because he wanted that paycheck too. Like that was a lot of money on the table for his supermax that he's no longer eligible for.
Even him and Mark Cuban are still great friends. I think everybody was surprised, and I think on top of him, just how upset he was. I think that also goes to show, like, he didn't tell them he's not coming back. You know what I'm saying?
Did not expect that.
Yeah. They messed up. They messed up.
It would be crazy though if the Lakers do mess around and make a deep run or somehow get back like this year. Like, dang, like that's crazy because like we talked about, they were just in the finals last year off of Luka's back. You know, so we'll see.
I'd love to win a championship this year. It would be so just desserts, dog.
That would be so cool. That would be so dope. All right, cool. So I think we'll leave it right there. That was our big ones that we wanted to hit. But again, we will be back next week for episode 291, continuing our countdown to episode 300. And again, thank you all for the support. Get out there and fill in your tournament brackets. And it's your boy Ev.
Yeah, it's your boy Strizzy.
Peace.